He's got all the rave going on. Thank you for visiting on a Wall Pass Wednesday, brother, because I know we'll be busy on tomorrow making sure that everybody is well fed and sleeping during football.
Hey, what's going on, John? Good morning, SDH family. Yes, good thing I set up a quick reminder on my phone because definitely on a Wednesday might have slipped me by, but here we are, ready to go. We had some interesting, actually, some really good games in MLS. We had finally end of season presser for the Sounders, so there's plenty to talk about there, John.
All right, so let's go with your end of season presser with the Sounders. You had analyzed what you thought was going to happen with names and folks and who's staying and who's going. So now that you had the press conference at the Providence and Swedish Library and 5-minute oil change, doesn't seem like it was a whole lot different than what you thought.
No, it really was not the most news breaking type of end of season presser. There wasn't really anything that maybe we had not already heard of or reported. I think that the most assertive thing we heard from Craig Weibel was the fact that Ryan Kent is not coming back at all. He closed the door completely on it. There was a lot of fans who were wondering if, despite not picking up the option, were there any conversations with Ryan Kent to bring him back, because he had been a very interesting find, and he kind of showed up here more as a Hail Mary that didn't quite hit that touchdown, but it gained some ground, some yards, and people were wondering what that would look like next season. And he, I think he was very bold in saying there is no role for him here next year. That is a lot. I mean, that's very confident in your wingers, in your depth. I do think that there was something to do with compensation in order to keep him. That was part of the decision why he's no longer here. But look, this opens up the door to a guy like Georgie Manungu, who I'm excited to see next season get more minutes, continue to grow, develop. He is an exciting winger. There is obviously the possibility for Paul Arriola to right off the gate. He's been working on recovering, getting back out there, getting game fit, game rhythm. He was a player that when you first saw him on the training field, when you saw his first couple of games, it was exciting to see him play out there. Reed Baker Whiten is another guy that is one of the U22s of this team that might have an opportunity there. So there are some options, but without Ryan Kent and Paul Rothrock, who, although not for sure or official, it's pretty likely to say that he won't be with the team next season. So I think if there are some players, if there's room to grow that roster, I think that right winger, it's maybe a place where you're gonna have to go out there and get a little bit of help, a little bit more down the line type of right winger. You got Kalani Casariensi, you got Ferreira, that's more of a pocket winger. But yeah, Ryan Kent's departure was probably the most newsworthy thing. He did not like, speaking about Craig Weibel, he did not like me pressing him on the Obed Vargas situation. That was the one moment where he looked like he was trying to eat his vegetables in the dinner table. And I think a lot of it had to do with the difficulty of the negotiations, the severity of it. All I wanted to know is if he was concerned that there was a chance that Obed Vargas would walk away from the Sounders on a free. And I asked, how catastrophic would that be? But he did not want to answer that. He just said, you know what, it's I'd have to acknowledge that it happened and it hasn't. So da 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 da. But he just wasn't having it. I still think that the Obed Vargas situation right now is one of the biggest decisions that you got to make as a club. If he is looking for even a TAM deal beyond the U22 spot that you were hoping to get him under, man, I don't know if you might have to give it to him or you might have to pick up and take one of these early offers early in the year. But yeah, those are some of the things that kind of came out yesterday.
You mentioned Ryan Kent and trying to do the math with Kent and with Obed Vargas. I kind of understand where Craig Weibel's coming from here. Ryan Kent, his everything was 959,000. 6 dudes above him made 6 figures. So I understand perhaps him wanting to get the increase in the salary. He's looking for the salary bump in the new deal. And you combine that, though, with Obed Vargas, who is in an option year. And Obed is making just over 100. I think it's like 134, something like that. And then Paul Rothrock, you mentioned, out of contract. It's like, hey, we want you, but we got to figure it out. If you are looking to keep Obed Vargas, I understand possibly jettisoning Ryan Kent because you're going to need that money, even though you had 7 figures worth of GAM. You had like 1.1 in GAM back in September. So trying to play the math of, okay, who do you want to keep? Ryan Kent, who wants a salary increase to get him north of $1 million. Obed Vargas, who's in an option year that you want to keep, and you've got 2 U22 spots available there as well. What side of that do you massage? And then the Rothrock situation. So I kind of see where Weibel's coming from in this. And Ryan Kent not looking at the other 6 guys is like, I want to be paid like those other 6. So I understand the mechanics here. Am I off in trying to figure out, okay, if I can't go here, I want to keep those 2 or one of those 2?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that has to be part of the math. Again, the U22 spot has been controversial here in the Pacific Northwest because it's been open for so long. And yes, you have to give the Sounders credit in being able to look at their academy and their own product and bring in U22s to fill those. But at the same time, you also understand the fans wondering, hey, man, when am I going to get my Silvetti here with the Sounders? Or, how is that going to work out? And so there's some fine math to be had. Absolutely. And I think that if me looking at the situation, if I want to move those funds from Paul Rothrock and Ryan Kent per se, it would be to try to compensate a guy like Obed in order to keep him for a longer time, in order to give myself the most room to get him and the club the best offer to move him on. Ryan Kent, as you mentioned, it wasn't just the salary, but it was what you saw that the salary got you for that very small window of time between the injuries and everything. You weren't able to necessarily see what it could have been. And I do also believe that there is that depth at that left winger position that allows the team to say, thank you very much. They probably said something along the lines, look, we love to have you back for 500,000-600,000. And Ryan Kent said, absolutely not. I'm already taking a cut as it is. I'm outie like a belly button. So that is the situation right now with the Sounders, where all in all, John and SDH family, the conclusion, if you had to put it all together, or the narrative, the lesson learned after the press conference is that there's not going to be a lot of movement for the Sounders. And this is something that I've been saying for a while, it, and some of the fans that follow us on SDH do. But if there was any need to really hear it from the front office and from the club, if you see that presser, everything that they're talking about is we're happy with what we have. Our roster is almost there. Craig Weibel kind of puffed off his chest a little bit about not going to get a U22 and instead bringing in a guy like Osasa de Rosario and developing him. And I know that's been controversial for some fans. But, hey, look, you got to give, again, this club the benefit of the doubt because you had a guy like Kalana Kosariense come in and be a real contributor, be a key factor last season. You got a guy like Osasa coming in and scoring some important goals. Clearly, the Paul Rothrock situation had worked out for you. Danny Leyva is a guy that increased his minutes, increased the amount of time he had on the field. So, if anything, this organization has shown you that they understand exactly what they have within their own rankings and how it can be effective on the field.
All right, let's take a peek at the playoffs and the weekend that was, and we'll get into the weekend that will be. And we'll start with the late game, the last one. And I know that we've been looking at San Diego. Like I said, when you came in, I went down the Milan-Olowski rabbit hole again, and I was still trying to figure out how he escaped San Diego and ended up in Philly. And I know San Diego will sit there and say, well, who's still playing? Who's playing now? But San Diego, it took a little bit for them in the late game on Monday Night Football to get prepped and end up in the Western Conference Final. But it took this moment for it to happen, courtesy of our friends at Jammin' 95.7 in San Diego FC. It's our friend Adrian Garcia Marquez with the call. And, of course, he lit it up.
El Capitan scanning for openings, leaves it for Christopher McVeigh. Back to Yepe. Yepe lifts it, trying to get it into the area for Corey Barrett, who heels it back. Anders Dreyer! Goal! Goal! And it's El Paletero delivering again. Ta-dum, pa-dum, pum, pa-dum, pum, pum. Paletero reign in San Diego. He cracked it. G-O-L-A-Z-O. Goal. Golazo. Anders Dreyer. Always on fire. Qué clase de paletero. Qué clase de jugador Darren Smith. When you need your MVP paletero shows up when you need him most.
Oh, AGM. He is absolute class.
I have never heard his call, but I really have never heard his call, but that is some quality. Love that.
Man, you've never heard Adrian Garcia Marquez before?
I have not heard him on the call of the San Diego. Absolutely, FC.
Wow, because he's a SoCal kid, and he also calls the Chargers games in Spanish, in addition to the stuff that he does with Big FOX, calling Liga MX and other competitions like that. No, we are worshipers at the altar of the great AGM. There's a reason that we call the stadium the Murph Dragon down in San Diego. That is straight from his glossary, because it used to be Jack.
Wow.
It used to be Jack Murphy Stadium, and it's Snapdragon now. And so he merged the two together, the old and the new. It's the Murph. I wanted to try to do something before you took a sip, because I didn't want to give spit take the day before Thanksgiving all over your equipment. But yeah, AGM is class, and he comes up with stuff. Yeah, he did the Prince yell that you heard there. That was him doing Prince. And it is a great blending of jazz and the Hispanic calls and English language, and it just all comes together in this fantastic sauce. We believe in the church of Adrian Garcia Marquez. He is a stud, as the kids say.
Yeah, that's beautifully put. I mean, it definitely felt like a bit of a gumbo of that call, because he's bringing a little bit of that Spanglish component. El paletero is crazy, by the way. Paletero, because of the dryer. It's actually quite clever. That is awesome. I absolutely love it.
All right, so I was trying to find the translation because I couldn't find the spelling. When he called them El Paletero, what was that?
Is the ice cream man, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing because his last name's Dryer, like the ice cream, right? That's the guess. I mean, I as far as I could tell, that's where my mind went. So it's phenomenal, and that was a great goal, right? As ironic as that game was, to see San Diego, the team with usually all of the possession, all of the opportunities, all of the volume of play. In this one, they had the possession, but they really had a hard time breaking down Minnesota like everyone else has all year long. But they take their one opportunity, their one shot, their one chance, and that little back heel from Barrett is phenomenal. And then Dryer to put it away with very little angle, but he hits it with so much pace that there's just no way that St. Clair's getting to that ball, and he is clearly the best goalkeeper of the year. This is one of the best defenses. So the moment that you put it away, and that's credit to San Diego and a team that, man, they show me that even when they're unable to get the chances that they want, they can put you away. And defensively, they were impressive. You got to give Minnesota also credit. I thought that they were the better team for the majority of this game. Because again, a lot of people have issues with playing against the run of play and, their style, but they created the better chances. They really were on top of San Diego, but San Diego held on and they were able to take him out, man. And absolutely MVP. I mean, if we're in another era of MLS where there is no Lionel Messi, Dreyer is definitely a guy that should have or could have gotten that MVP vote. So credit to San Diego, and Pellegrino had a good game, and defensively this team is solid. It's going to be a good Western Conference final, although I feel like we already had the Western Conference final.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a good game.
So, and then Los Angeles, the LAFC Vancouver game, we talked about it a lot on Monday because to us, it's an instant classic. It is, it is that game where you're staying up late because you wanted to watch it. And because of how just absolutely ridiculous it got, you stuck with it all the way through. And yeah, it was a late night, but nobody cared. I mean, Vancouver, they get that second yellow. They're down to 10. They're out of subs, players injured. They're down to 9. They are trying to figure out what they can stop the leaks in the dam with. It's like, okay, anybody got a spare finger? It's like Twister, red foot, right, and all this kind of stuff. And everything through the goal mouth. You had 2 posts and a crossbar in one sequence with Takaoka and Bouanga hitting it twice. It was crazy to me just how off the rails that game was. And Vancouver makes their way through, and Thomas Mueller, he's like, we're not done. And he has instantly assimilated himself into that Vancouver group think. He's in a place where he can be a guy, not the guy, but a guy as part of a group. And I really dig that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know what? This game was a great representation of what each team has done all season. I have to give a lot of credit to Jasper Sorensen for, look, from the very beginning, from minute 1, taking no chances. Even if you didn't know how ready he was going to be for this game, you start with him, Blackman as well, right? He's coming off an injury. You don't know, but you start him. Where he played Laborda at and how influential he was throughout the game. Everything about the way he put this team together and the red hot start should have been no surprise to anyone. What surprised me was LAFC's response to just getting hit twice in the face and being knocked down and getting back up. Look, that equalizer by Son was as good as it gets. I mean, right moment, right time, difficult shot because of the distance that you're from the goal. In order to put that much pace and put it where he put it, oh man, I mean, it was a thing of beauty. I was watching it with my dad, and we kept replaying it over and over and over again because it was just such a difficult shot. Overtime was great. The contrast of different styles of plays. I mean, this was the Western Conference final. With all due respect to San Diego, of course, they've had a great season, but this had the stardom, this had the suspense, this had the emotion, the electricity, the venue. And look, we can sit here and I really do think that it's just saltiness from Lloris to talk about the field and all of these things. I get it, but let's not take away from what it was, which was an instant classic, as you said, and that includes BC Place and the atmosphere that was there.
San Diego's a favorite right now in the juice boxes at a plus 129. Vancouver is a plus 183. 90-minute draws a plus 252 in the composite. What do you think?
Give me Vancouver, baby. Give me Vancouver. I had them as the champs from the very beginning of these playoffs. I've absolutely loved this team overall. And the reason why I picked them is because progressively, I felt like they could manage the start of this playoffs and then start to get guys back. And the fact that I said it last week, John, I told you this team is going to depend on how healthy they are. But at the same time, they already had this baseline where, look, we're going to be able to get places. And now that they get White back, eventually they'll get Goal back, Blackman's back. I mean, this team is going to be rolling in all cylinders by the time they play San Diego. And I do think that they're going to win it. They'll win it in 90. I'm almost sure they're going to win it in 90, and then they'll move on to the final, and we'll see what happens on the other side.
Okay, so then there is the other side. Messi and friends of minus 200 taking on NYC, who's a plus 428. They didn't have Pereira. They didn't have their big guns, but you had Maxi Morales and Maxi, who I think turned 704 the other day. I mean, it's like he still just comes in these big situations and he pops in, and it's just like, all right, Maxi turns into Maxi. NYC got the goal that they needed, and they got out of town. They put up with Philly, and Philly doing Philly things, but they are a plus 428 going to the Erector set to take on Messi and friends.
Yeah, that's a very reasonable line. I mean, to be quite frank, you got to give New York credit. I don't want to sit here and just say that Philly allowed this game to get out of hand, that they didn't put their goals away, that Barribo could have had this game finished early on, that Ilosky just didn't quite perform the way he had performed in the past, that Vasilev himself had a really bad game, I thought, compared to, what you've seen out of him all season long. But I want to just stay with how this New York team played and the way that Jansen set this team up, because he realizes that he has lost his best player, and he plays Nico Fernandez in this sort of like, I don't want to call it a false nine. I'm not really sure what to call it necessarily, but the way that he played with this team just worked. They were compact defensively. They give up some opportunities, but nothing that Matt Freese couldn't handle. And then on the attack, they were able to put some pressure on this Philadelphia team. Nico has been outstanding. I mean, all season long. But I continue to say that what makes this team tick is the character, the discipline, the energy, the understanding of what everyone does on that field. And they took it to a team like Philadelphia that reigns on the same principles. That's what they do, right? And there were some red flags about Philadelphia going into this playoffs, regardless of them being the Shield winners and everything. It showed in this one. When it came down to the potatoes were boiling, it just felt like New York City just had been tested more, and they've been able to get out of more situations than Philadelphia. And that's what gets them the goal. That's what gets them the ability to just hold on to that lead. And you just got to give credit to the well coaching there in New York City.
Couple of notes in the Eastern Conference before I let you loose for Thanksgiving. New York and DC United, Red Bulls and DC United have come out with their roster decisions while we've been talking. And as of 4 minutes ago, DC United releases their notes. And they have declined Christian Benteke's option for 2026. Dr. Erkut Sogut, Managing Director of Soccer Operations, did say that they remain in discussions with his reps regarding a potential return in 2026. Also actively working to identify and recruit top-level talent, including DPs, as a part of our broader roster build moving forward. 16 players under contract, 6 options exercised, 5 declined, roster of 22. Current negotiations with Benteke and homegrown forward Christian Fletcher after declining their options in 25. Luis Barraza, who probably should have gotten hazard pay at times with that defense he had to have in front of him at DC. I mean, he needed a bonus, man. He was on loan, but he needed bonuses from DC United having to put up with that back line that he was behind. Barraza, Benteke, Lucas McNaughton eligible for free agency, which opens on the 10th. And once again, they mentioned that you got to be 24, have service. You can talk to folks at 1 o'clock. You can start pulling up to folks' front doors at 1 o'clock on the 10th. I could just see a bunch of GMs in their cars around the corner from homes at like 12:58. Is it 1 o'clock yet? And at 1 o'clock, you're screaming. You hit the brakes in front of somebody's house. Under contract for DC. Avilas, Baji, Bartlett, Eno, Jordan Farr, Kim, Herrera, Karamoko, Jacob Morel, Joao Peglo, Peltola, Rolls, Schnegg, Brandon Cervania, Jared Stroud, Gavin Turner. Exercised options: Connor Antley, Caden Clark, Jackson Hopkins, Jose Kojima, Gabriel Pirani, Garrison Tubbs. There's some there. Options declined: Benteke, Dodson, Fletcher, Randall Leal, Rita Zuhir, and then free agents Barraza, Benteke, and McNaughton. So 22 for DC United. Red Bulls came out with their roster decisions literally just as I was making that sentence happen. So 28 players already under contract, 1 player out of contract. So they didn't really have a whole lot of decisions to make. Club declined the option on Kyle Duncan and Curtis Ofori, exercised the options on Peter Stroud and Sean Nealis. Tim Parker and AJ Marcucci currently in conversations to remain at the club. Marcucci is recovering from an injury, so I understand the roster gymnastics where AJ Marcucci was concerned. Carlos Coronel, remember, not a part of the future plans for Red Bulls. Julian de Guzman had his couple of sentences. Red Bulls 2 keeper Tobias Shuchek is going to occupy a homegrown roster spot as of January 26th. So not a whole lot of surprises out of Red Bulls. Probably just the big name surprise that DC United put on the table, that Benteke, they're not renewing the option, but they want to bring him back to the table.
That's a difficult decision. I mean, he is on about $5 million with compensation when it comes to his salary. That's a lot of money for a player of his age. Look, he's been great. He's a dominant aerial threat. Every single time you can count him in for goals without a doubt. He is a cerebral player as well. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for how well he reads and crashes the box and the other things that he provides aside from goal scoring. But look, DC United gave up 66 goals this season. They were the worst team in the Eastern Conference. The problems are a lot bigger than whether you want to keep Benteke or not. There is an identity crisis. There's a lack of midfield. So
there's just
to me,
lack. There's just a lack, period, at DC.
Exactly. And I guess, we could put that on repeat because that's what we've seen from DC for so many years. But I really do think moving on from Benteke is in the benefit of just trying to fill up the rest of the holes of this team. When it comes to certain clubs, especially in a salary cap based league, at times you just need to allocate that money elsewhere. And I feel like DC needs to move on. Now, who picks that up? That could be interesting, right? There are only a few teams that I think could provide that solid salary in terms of money. But he is a guy that if you put him in a win now type of situation, win now type of team, I don't know. Let's call it, I don't know, Charlotte, call it, not Nashville, but there's some clubs that be able to pay him. How about Columbus?
Well, I mean, you're looking for a team that needs a power forward. Basically, you're looking for that post up power forward, and he made, to your point, he made just under full compensation was like $4,937,500, something like that last year. So he's going to want something in that ballpark, and your philosophy, you need that post up power forward that can distribute to the wings because of the positional gravity that he is going to attract. It's that second touch that's always key to DC. As soon as Benteke chests it down, he's got possession of it. Where does he go? That's the key. So whatever offense can handle the GAM, handle the salary, handle the DP spot that they're going to have to surrender for somebody like Benteke. Unless he goes high TAM, maybe shoot. You need a power forward, basically, first and foremost.
Yeah, I don't think he fits necessarily. And I do feel like these guys are going to go get more of their own style of striker. But if there's a team that has room and a spot, it could be Miami. I mean, Miami. I
wasn't going to say it.
I know. It was staring at me in the face.
I thought it. And you've got the pink going on behind you as a
That's what it was. That's what reminded me right there.
And I was like, he's got the pink going on the screensaver. It entered my head to be Messi and friends if you need a post-up power forward, but that kind of goes against what Mascherano has been doing with the speed and creating opportunities. It would be like replacing Suarez with Benteke, if that makes any sense.
Exactly. And that's the only reason why I brought it up, because that could be it. That could be a possibility. Again, Columbus is another team that, does need that firepower guy. Again, doesn't quite fit, but with Wilfred Nancy potentially leaving, what do we know about what's the fit? I mean, we don't know what that's going to look like next year. There's clearly a talented roster that needs that final gunpowder at the end of that attacking system. And, he could be it. But there's going to be plenty of suitors for a guy like Benteke.
All right. So what is going on at Sounder at Heart and Pulso Sports? What are you doing for the holiday? What's the meal? What are you taking that no one else is allowed to eat? What's the wild card? Hit me.
Please go ahead and check out our end of season and the very last what we learned this season. What we learned this week with Jeremiah Shand of the 2025 season. We really broke down everything that we heard from Brian Smetzer and Craig Weibel in this episode. We give you a real look on what to expect next season with the Sounders. I've heard a lot of, hyperbolic takes, and there's MLS influences out there that they don't really have the insight. They kind of go more off of vibes, and they were talking about how pivotal the next season for the Sounders is, and the reality is that there's no indicators that next season is going to be pivotal at all for the Sounders. You could even say that maybe it might be difficult to get the Sounders motivated the way you did this year, because you had Club World Cup, you had all of these achievements, right? CCC, all these things that you're playing for. Next season, you don't have a lot of that. A lot of the excitement is going to be just on the World Cup, and that has nothing to do with Sounders necessarily. So next season is going to be very low on news, very low on moves. You're going to take it on. The pivotal season will come 2027, which I asked about, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Craig Weibel was like, that's a year from now. We don't want to talk about that. But the calendar changed, potentially new ownership within the Sounders, a new way of doing business perhaps for this team. 2027 will be the pivotal season. So check that out. It's a really good episode. Really recommend it. On Monday, we'll come in back with Ari Lillenwall in kickoff. So those are the things that we have going on. Pulso Sports, of course, you'll find a press conference. You'll find a couple of other things that we're going to be doing for the end of season shows. And when it comes to Thanksgiving, have the whole family coming over. We got 2 different turkeys. My sister-in-law is making a turkey and salsa, which is a new recipe that she is putting together. My dad always does it very traditional style turkey. So we got a lot going on. I'm making a holiday Moscow Mule for the drink of choice. So yeah, man, it's gonna be a good time here at the Moreno family household.
That turkey and salsa, that sounds, the boss would be all over that. She's into the spicier stuff.
Yes.
And the boss would absolutely be all over that. So if that recipe is available, go ahead and email it to me, because I'm going to give it to her, and then she'll sit there and go, ooh, she'll go and get it,
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
All right. I love you very much, my friend. Be safe. Have a great holiday. We'll catch up with you again next week, back to normal times, and we will know who's going to be in the last games of the year. So we'll figure it out. Oh, actually, can I have you next Wednesday again at 10:30, week from today?
Yes, next Wednesday. Perfect. I'll make sure to put it on my phone, because if not, I'll absolutely forget.
Right.
So yes, absolutely. I'm in on Wednesday for sure.
Good deal, because Thursday next week, we're looking to try and get as many of our friends from Apple TV Plus to come in and crash and just look into the MLS High Senior Yearbook and give, most likely to succeed, all the awards and what they think for the season MLS Cup. So that's going to be next Thursday.
Nice.
In a perfect world. And so I want you to anchor and be back here a week from today at 10:30. And then you'll be back in 2 weeks on your normal slot, and you'll see how tired I am after the high school football championship. So that's it for the next couple of weeks. Love you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.